4. The IIG questions and replies. Let's examine the elements that make up an item identification guide. The basic knowledge will help you develop your own item descriptions. A requirement is made of several parts that collectively give a precise definition, not subject to arbitrary interpretation. The wording of the requirement is short, concise, and clear. It defines immediately the requested character. Each requirement is identified by a 4-letter code called Master Requirement Code. An asterisk put after a Master Requirement Code indicates that the reply is optional. Consequently, requirements without asterisks are mandatory. Some optional requirements can become mandatory when they depend on the main requirement or a reference drawing. Example: mode codes will tell the codifier how to structure the reply. The codes, their meanings, and rules of use will be detailed when we get to replies to requirements. Sub-requirements called Identified Secondary Address Code, ISAC. Secondary coding is used to specify a location, function, sequence, etc. It is used when the reply instructions allow it. The definition, to explain how to interpret the title above, is required. Finally, the instructions for the replies. They must be followed carefully as they include the reply tables to use and how to reply, the reference to the applicable drawings, the relationship between the requirements, how to make the reply. Now, let's detail the different mode codes, their meaning and instructions for use. Mode code A indicates that the reply is given in plain numeric or alphanumeric text, and that it does not correspond to any value of any measurable scale. Example: code mode B indicates that the reply is given in clear text as a decimal value representing an arithmetic value of a measurable scale, with a minimum 1 digit following the previous decimal. Negative values are preceded by the letter represented by the sign in decoded format. A positive or null value is not preceded by any sign. This code will be used with all the replies representing numerical values of measurement scale, such as dimensions, electrical values, weight, etc. Example: mode code C is no longer applicable. It was used to provide the reply in clear as a decimal, which was decoded as a fraction. Example: mode code D indicates that the reply is an encoded value taken from a reply table. Example: mode code E can enter an acceptable reply in plain text, which is not included in the reply table. In this case, the reply should be structured as the expected reply to this requirement. Using mode code E should be an exception and never be used instead of reply codes A, G, or L. In this case, submitting a proposal to update the IIG should be considered. Example: mode code F indicates that the reply is given in clear text. It is similar to mode code B, except that the reply is a range of values written as a decimal with a minimum of 1 digit before and following the previous digit decimal. These values are separated by a slash. A negative or null value is preceded by the letter, and a negative value is preceded by the letter. Example: mode code indicates that the reply is given in clear text. In case of multiple or optional replies, conjunctions should be used in plain text. Example: mode code H indicates that the reply is coded and it consists of several individual values equivalent to the replies submitted for a mode code D. Example: mode code J indicates that several replies are taken from different reply tables, followed by a variable length value written in clear text. Example: mode code K is no longer applicable. It could be used instead of the other mode codes except for values D and G, but only in conjunction with one of the following standard expressions: all A when the value requested by the requirement is not required for item identification purpose. In this case, all values can be used and accepted. Not estimated when the characteristics requested by the requirement has not been established for the item of supply. Not applicable when the characteristics required by the requirement does not apply to the relevant item of supply. Example: mode code L is used to refer to a drawing or an illustration. This can present the characteristics in a more direct way. Example: here are some peculiarities regarding reply structure. Optional replies when there is more than one potential value that can be appropriate for the same characteristic. In this case, the values mentioned are separated by conjunction represented by the $sign code. Example: multiple replies when the same requirement has several values that all apply to the same characteristic of the item of supply. In this case, the values mentioned are separated by conjunction represented by the $sign code. Example: to avoid the proliferation of item identifications, the characteristics of the item of supply should be given with the broadest possible tolerance consistent with the intended use of the item. In this case, the terms minimum and maximum, or any acceptable and not rated, are used to express the broader expressions. Example: when one or more characteristics give the item of supply of an exclusive character, the specificity must be reported in the requirement. Justification for exclusivity, represented by CRTL. The reply will also refer to MRC code on characteristics regarded as exclusive. Example: some quantitative, dimensional, or other characteristics are given in units of measurement. In this case, the answer shall consist of a code selected from a reply table, which indicates the appropriate units, and, if applicable, the chosen scale, a decimal numeric value preceded by the code for the indication if required. Example: whether the dimensional data are expressed in US or UK metric units, the point will be used as decimal point. Dimensions are given in decimal form with at least one digit after the point. We must stop at the last significant figure, that is to say, the required degree of accuracy. 8.8, 16.5, 1.25, 0.0075, etc. When dimensions are represented by fractions or size, these values are in decimal form. Example: when some characteristics cannot be integrated in textual form, some questionnaires are used to present these characteristics directly with a drawing or an illustration. These drawings or illustrations are as generic and convenient as possible to be applied to the largest possible number of items of supply. Example: when data is not consistent with the replies provided in the reply tables, the system allows, under certain conditions, to provide the reply in plain text using the mode code E. In this case, submitting a proposal to update the IIG can be considered. Example: